even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Conservative, not bitter indeed. In fact, 98. This is incredible. Incredible numbers in our latest research and polling here at the Todd Huff Show. 98% of scientists agree that listening to this program can, in fact, cause you to lean to the right. 98%. That's even 1% more of scientists than those that agree that man is contributing to climate change. Incredible. We've actually surpassed that. 98% say that listening to this program can cause you to lean to the right and that you should listen with caution. Be advised that that can happen. And it's good to have you no matter where you're listening from, whether that be on radio, podcast, or yes, even on YouTube where we're streaming now this morning as well. It's good to have you, YouTube. Our one's on Facebook, although our first segment was not on Facebook this morning because our software, our program was not reconnecting to Facebook. It took several attempts and just pushed us into the second segment is when we were connecting there. But anyway, good to be here. Thank you for joining us. I ended last hour by kind of setting this up. So if I've already said this, if you heard that last hour, I don't want to rehash this, but I wanted to set this up. So this week, the Supreme Court released their decision regarding the LGBT community and basically that, well, they decided that the 1964 Civil Rights Act actually should apply to them. Now, again, I want to pause as it pertains to discrimination. So that 1964 legislation creates what's called protected classes of people. So a business cannot discriminate against someone based upon race, religion, and other other reasons. That was turned into law in 1964, but they listed the classes. So it's always been held that if you're not part of the protected classes, that the company, businesses can choose to actually discriminate against certain reasons. I'm not saying this is good. I'm just telling you, that this is how that's how law should be. This is how this should be done, right? If a class of people is not listed in the law, then Congress should amend it. Congress should change it. That's the role of Congress. Congress writes the laws, the courts interpret the laws, the president enforces the laws. Unless you're Trump and you're not allowed to enforce the law, then you're called a dictator, a totalitarian for enforcing the law, wanting to enforce border security, just like they can do it in Chaz and CHOP, but you can't do it in the United States of America. That's considered racist. It's not racist if Chaz does it. That's considered being down with the cause. They chant they cheer guillotines, right? If you guys remember what they did in the French Revolution, one of the so-called leaders of Chaz yells on a megaphone a couple nights ago. They chopped off their heads. The crowd goes wild chanting chopped, chanting about people getting their heads cut off. That's okay in the city of Chaz, but Trump can't detain people and put them in a temporary detention center while they're being processed. That's considered an internment camp, right? That's what that was considered according to AOC. AOC goes down to the border, does some phony protesting, pretends like she's crying, holding onto a fence, looking at innocent women and children that have been seized by ICE and thrown into cages, as they told us, and that was all fake stuff. Nobody cares. Reality doesn't matter. What matters is narratives in this country. And narratives are powerful. Narratives are powerful. They begin to personalize them. They begin to, grab your emotions. And suddenly we start taking decisions and going in directions that we should not be going. But anyway, so this is Chaz. Chaz is, going bonkers over what's happening there in their city, chanting for guillotines, all this sort of thing. That's considered good. But going back to the original point, there is a distinct separation between our branches of government. They have specific rules. They're supposed to be co-equal, separate but equal branches, right? They're co-equal, and one branch in one circumstance has authority over what that branch is doing, right? So, for example, president wants to nominate someone to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court doesn't choose its nominee. It goes to the president. But you know who also has a say? Congress, actually the Senate specifically. So the Senate has to confirm that person. So likewise, when there's a law that's written by Congress and enforced by the president, if someone brings a legal challenge and it moves through the court system and it ends up getting ultimately to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court decides to hear that case, if that's what happens, then the Supreme Court makes a decision. But what the Supreme Court is not supposed to do is make law. That's the job of Congress explicitly. So again, if something's wrong with the 1964 law, it should be changed. Even if the justices loathe that law, even if the justices think it's reprehensible, their job isn't to correct it, isn't to put their own beliefs into it, put their own desires into it. Their job is to simply interpret it. And so that is not what happened the other day on this ruling. Instead, they legislated from the bench, 6 of them, including Neil Gorsuch, including Chief Justice John Roberts, and the other 4 radical crazies, voted to say that this law should include the LGBTQ community, which again, maybe the law should, but it's not the job of the justices to do that. This is a very fundamental problem. Some people I can hear saying, well, what does that matter? What difference does that make if it's the right thing to do, which I'm not arguing for necessarily, because I want to get into this other issue that this opens up. But if it's not right for them to do, or if it's the right thing to do, I should say, then why should it matter how we get there? Because it's not ever right. It's never right to do something in a way that violates the way that the system is supposed to work, because that fosters an environment where that can happen again in more egregious ways. By the way, why should it matter what 9 people think is the right thing? That's what America can argue about. That's what the political system is for. They can campaign on it. People can get elected or removed from office or whatever based upon through the voting, through votes, through the election. That can be the case. That can be what happens. That's how we determine what direction we go. And then those individuals who are elected to represent us in the various states and districts around this country can vote on legislation. And that's the way that this should be done. It's not done because I guess they feel like they're, the moral kings, the moral police. They can read into the intentions of people, adding people in that, apparently weren't either known about or much known about or weren't thought much of back in the 1964. So had the authors of this known, they would have included them. The problem is that they didn't. So where does this stop? Well, I'll tell you what happens here now. Not where it stops, because I don't know where this stops. This logic and rationale can be, is it a protected class to be one who supports or who defends Antifa? Is Antifa a radical class now? Protected class now? If I'm hiring someone and someone says, hey man, just real quick here, I'm a member of Antifa and I've been setting places on fire in the community. I wear a mask at night. I throw bricks through windows. I dance on tops of cop cars. I've been sent to Syria to train to be... No, look, please don't misunderstand. I'm I'm just saying if we can add people in, I'm not saying LGBTQ people are like Antifa. Don't misunderstand that. I'm just saying to find out if this line of thinking works, you always, you go to the extreme example. And if that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, then we've got to figure out the right way to get to the solution. And just arbitrarily saying this group is suddenly there when they're not, especially when you can't see in the Second Amendment the right to keep and bear arms. These same justices have a difficult time seeing the right to keep and bear arms in the Second Amendment, but yet they can find new classes of people or new classes of people to include in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, preventing discrimination in the workplace. So I say all this to set up what we're going to get to next segment, which is now we're talking about religious liberty because this country was founded on the concept of religious liberty. Now, we saw this most recently. I don't want to say but one of the ways we've seen this come to the limelight recently was through RFRA, Religious Freedom Restoration Act, in many places, but specifically here in my state of Indiana. And you saw people being asked, businesses being asked, if you were asked to cater a same-sex wedding, right? Pizza parlor, as though this is really going to happen, as though a couple, getting married, a same-sex couple is looking to, have this nice wedding and they're going to cater in. Nothing wrong. I love pizza. But you're not going to cater. This is not living in reality here. But so they go around, people with microphones. If you were asked, would you cater a same-sex wedding? And one of these pizzerias say no because, we don't want to be a part of that. And suddenly you're part of the problem. You're discriminating. Of course, what they don't realize is that they didn't say they wouldn't serve a same-sex couple pizza. They just said, I don't want to be involved in that official ceremony. I believe that marriage is between a man and woman, and this is a religious belief that I hold. Now, this is considered unconstitutional now in the minds of some people or illegal to have these opinions. And some of these people are actually serving in Congress. In fact, they'll say things like the so-called religious liberty. So-called religious liberty. This nation was founded. I don't want to. It's at the top of that list of the reasons that this nation attracted people was the idea of religious liberty. This is not deniable. This is a very fundamental portion, central facet of our nation. We don't have a state church. We don't have a government-endorsed church. We have the free assembly of people, but we also have, a government that's not involved in that. So we have churches. We have throughout history, we've had a very religious people or people who have sought to follow Christ and, the Bible. We've had that. People of other religions as well. But the Christian influence, the Judeo-Christian influence on this nation is undeniable for those who really care to admit that. So this sets up this conflict because what happens if you're a church and you have someone on staff and it violates what you believe about what the Bible teaches, it violates what the Bible teaches, and someone says, hey, I am a member of the LGBTQ community, and you say, well, that violates that contradicts. It depends what you mean, right? I mean, I've read a book by a gentleman. I can't think of his name at the moment, and he's talking about he suffers. He's a pastor, and he says that he has he has same-sex attraction, but he doesn't act on it. He's not saying he should be able to biblically marry someone of the same gender. Drawing a blank. Sam Alberry, I think is his name. It's a great book, by the way. It's a great book. Is God Anti-Gay, I think is the name of the book. Anyway, so what happens now? What happens now if the church's doctrine the teachings say that a marriage is between a man and a woman, one of the staff members say, hey, I have same sex attraction. I now have, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. We want to get married. Now what happens? Does that church not have the freedom to exercise their religion and say, look, you can't be like, what our beliefs are, but we can't have. Now, you can disagree with those. You can think that that's not correct. But why can't the church exercise that? And I want to talk about this. In fact, I got a soundbite that I want to play here as well. So we'll talk about those things when we get back. So sit tight. You're listening here to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff, back in just a minute.
Looking to make a conservative, not bitter fashion statement? Check out our apparel online, including brand new items at toddhuffshow.com/shop today.
If you own a rental property, you know the hassles of marketing, renting, collecting, and the handling of maintenance and repairs. One call to Zuluscape can put an end to your property management headaches. Zuluscape has over 20 years of experience helping landlords throughout central Indiana and taking the stress out of owning a rental. From A to Z, let Zuluscape handle it all so you can enjoy owning a rental instead of hating being a landlord. Give us a call at 317-663-8485 or visit our website at zuluscape.com.
You rely on your vehicle every day. It's not a member of the family, but you spend as much time with it as most family members. You wouldn't take your family to just any doctor, so don't trust your vehicle to just any repair service. At Raymond's Auto and Truck Repair in Plainfield, we have well-trained, caring technicians that have the expertise to get you back on the road. For 25 years, we've been servicing personal, commercial, and fleet vehicles. Give us a call at 317-838-7112 for the car service you deserve.
Hi, I'm Greg Hubler from Greg Hubler Chevrolet. You know, a promise can get lost in a big city, but in a smaller town, a promise made had better be a promise kept. That's why the Greg Hubler Promise covers every vehicle we sell. All new Chevys receive a 3-year, 45,000-mile scheduled maintenance, plus complimentary roadside assistance and a free car wash with every visit. A promise made is a promise kept. Stop by Greg Hubler Chevy today or visit GregHublerChevy.com. Cruise on over to Canby. Find new roads.
Radon is an invisible, odorless gas that kills more people than drunk driving. In fact, radon is the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Is radon threatening the health of your family? Call Radon Environmental at 317-843-0804. Radon Environmental specializes in radon testing and mitigation. The process is quick, easy, and worth it. Radon Environmental wants to make sure your family's health is not at risk. Call 317-843-0804.
Anxiety, depression, relationship problems, past trauma. Problems rarely get better when given time. Care to Change counseling can help. Our professionals combined evidence-based care models with scripture to get you on the path to a productive life. We are here to help you make the changes you need for a healthier, happier you. Take that brave step today. Call Care to Change at 317-790-9396 or visit caretochange.org.
This is the sound of your typical do-it-yourselfer in completely over his head.
For heating, plumbing,
and electrical done right.
Call Mr. Quick. Call Mr. Quick. Dial the number, spell the words. For on time.
The compassion of Christ compels us to stop what we're doing and seek that person out. I think as Jesus went, in that famous song I sang as a little kid was Zacchaeus, come down. Zacchaeus was in a tree and he wanted to engage with Jesus, but he just couldn't, and Jesus stopped and he went over to him. If we are going to live a life of compassion, the compassion of Christ, are we willing to stop and seek those who need a touch of compassion today?
Ever wondered what shooting a real machine gun feels like? At Indie Trading Post, you can have an awesome and safe shooting experience in our family-friendly environment. Firing a weapon on full auto is something you will always remember. Schedule some range time today and let Indie Trading Post give you the real machine gun shooting experience. We guarantee you'll have a blast. Give us a call at 317-782-4867 or schedule your range time at fullautoindy.com.
Welcome back. I was telling Oz during the break, I'm just looking to give people reasons to hate me for talking about some of these issues. But that's really not it. I mean, look, here's the thing. In my estimation, I believe, I don't think there's any doubt about this, biblically speaking, that same-sex marriage is not within the will of God. Now, that doesn't mean that I hate the people who don't want to listen to that, don't agree with that, want to change that, whatever. That doesn't mean that at all. In fact, there's lots of things that, I don't want to say lots, but there's certainly things that I have done in my past that I don't agree with that I did either. Doesn't mean I hate myself. That's a false choice. The choice isn't to embrace everything a person does or you hate them. That's just nonsense, right? We got to get past that. We've got to get past that. I mean, for example, let's say, going back to what we're going to talk about with churches here, let's say a church or a religious organization or even a business that tries to operate in accordance with biblical principles. Why shouldn't they be able to make this choice? Their business is what they want it to be, right? I mean, that should be fundamentally that's a fundamentally important concept to keep as well. And by the way, I should mention, when you look at churches, or religious organizations or businesses who operate in accordance with biblical teaching, it doesn't mean that there's not other groups as well. I mean, I think about churches, if you have a pastor or staff member who's, living with someone before they're married. I mean, churches can address that as well. That's not biblical either. Again, doesn't mean people don't make that judgment in their own lives. I'm just saying that's it's not just this issue is what I'm saying. And it doesn't mean that you suddenly hate the person. Your job as a Christian leader is to make sure that your church is following biblical teachings, and you better be careful not to water that down too much. Of course, not being hateful, not being divisive. That's not the point of this. But saying that we're going to have people on our staff who embrace, and by embrace I mean live out these core Christian principles. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another to say, I know what I'm doing and I'm choosing to do something that you, church, in this example, do not agree with from a doctrinal perspective. And so this conversation has been playing out. It's been playing out with Alito. Alito's not been happy about this, saying that there's going to be implications for religious liberty because of this decision. And so I want to get to this conversation. This is Democratic Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, Democrat from, surprisingly, Democrat New York, being interviewed by, I had her name here, and totally had a Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace on MSNBC. I mean, Nicole Wallace she's used to be somewhere in there Republican. I mean, I don't know how she's, some stuff going on there, I think, but she's at MSNBC. She's talking with Representative Maloney about this court decision. So I want you to hear this. And I want you to specifically listen to his response and how he defines, how he identifies, how he brands this idea of religious liberty. This is incredible, especially when you know much about our nation's history. Take a listen.
Congressman, you and I have had most of our recent conversations about the really one of the saddest stories to hit our state, the coronavirus. And now I guess there's some hope in the size and scope of the demonstrations in New York State and New York City and all over the country. But as you said, this is awesome. And I was going to ask you to do some of that tea leaf reading that you just did. But I just want to pull off Roberts and Gorsuch and say, you know, and these sometimes can be irresponsible conversations to have on TV because we're just spitballing here. But what does it tell you about the two of them in the context of this decision that they voted with the more liberal justices?
Well, you know, I don't know, I suppose is the most honest answer. But there is a pattern of Justice Roberts pairing progressive decisions with conservative ones.
Right.
And he has decided in the area of LGBT equality to go with history, if nothing else. We saw that in the marriage decision, and we see it today. But remember, sometimes things like upholding the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, are paired with gutting the Voting Rights Act. And we know that Neil Gorsuch is a supporter of so-called religious liberty, which is a bogus term. It's actually some sort of pretext for discrimination hiding behind the guise of religion. So I'm still on the lookout for that from the author of this opinion. But look, for today, you know, in a rough month when there's so much bad news, I'm really excited. I'm actually emotional about it. It's amazing, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Bogus term, so-called religious liberty. Religious liberty is used as a tool to discriminate against people. It's not. I don't even know what to say about this at some level, but at another level, he's ignoring a central. A central tenet of this very important concept of religious liberty, which is if something that is done, right? Now this is the key point of separation. This is also the key point of separation between people who had a problem with the RFRA as well. If it's a behavior, right? So if someone who, in the example of RFRA, wants to go in and have a pizza, and they happen to be a same-sex couple, no one was saying they're going to not serve them. But what they were saying was, we're going to not participate in a same-sex wedding ceremony. We don't believe in that. We wish you well. We don't wish you any harm. I just don't want to associate with that. That violates my religious conscience. How that is a discrimination, especially when you could go back and get a pizza from any number of places, or cookies or cakes or whatever else it is. You've seen some of these people that are targeted. They're targeted by aggressive individuals who want you. They want to see how you're going to react, and then they're going to sue you and take you to court and bleed you for legal costs and all this sort of stuff. Take your business down in the process. That's what happened to one of these cake bakers in, I want to say Colorado. I can't keep it straight. Could have been the florist in Colorado and a cake baker in another state. But you've seen this happen. We've all witnessed these things happening. Same thing is true. I mean, if this is not identity based. Now you could say my sexual orientation is my identity. But no one's saying in the example of churches you can't come. In fact, as a Christian, anyone with any problem can walk into the doors of a church. At least in my church, you can come into that building and try to find God. Right? I mean, no one is disputing any of that. Talking about positions of leadership, and when your leaders begin to do things, or staff, right? Begin to do things that violate the teachings of the Bible, of the church, then now what? You're not allowed to do that because you say you want to discriminate. No, we just want to have, we don't want people who are openly and blatantly and intentionally living a lifestyle that is not consistent with biblical teachings. You have to like that. People can say whatever they want, but we're beyond that now. We're now to the point to saying that by law, you can't do anything about that. By law, you can't do anything about that. And then, what's next? Eventually, if you have enough things like this, you've eroded the teachings of the church or the teachings of the Bible to a point to where It's indistinguishable from the regular world. And at some point, if it's indistinguishable from the regular world, what is attractive about Christianity? What is attractive about the teachings? What happened to truth? What happened to God's design and plan? Now, you can say all these things I'm saying are crazy. You can say that now the Bible's a fairy tale, God didn't create the earth, all this stuff, God's design and plan, hooey nonsense. Go for it. You can do that. You're free to do that. But then to say that there's not something else going on here is just not intellectually honest. It's not personal about the person. It's about what's the behavior and whether or not it's consistent with the teachings of the faith. And a church should absolutely be able to do that. And this idea that religious liberty is now being called bogus, so-called religious liberty, by a sitting U.S. congressman when this nation was founded upon these very ideas and principles. Not in our government per se, not for the government to enforce, but this idea that we are free. We are free to live our lives as we see fit. There's a clear rationale for this. There's a clear path to getting us to why a church would not want to hire or have on staff someone who's a staff member who's married to someone of the same sex, the same gender. I know those words they tell me are not synonymous, but you know what I mean. So that's considered to be hateful. That's considered to be a form of hate speech and discrimination, when in reality what it is trying to maintain integrity to their beliefs. You can criticize their beliefs, and if the beliefs don't fit the people in the community, or they aren't convinced of that, they won't go to that church, and that church will ultimately suffer. Churches can decide. Why can't churches decide these things? It's not bogus. Religious liberty is not bogus. You want to talk about things that people got killed for throughout history? Was religion. I mean, you don't have to look very far. This is not hard to see. In fact, you just go back to 9/11. We were targeted by radical Islamic terrorists because we did not embrace their same religious/political worldview. It was rooted in their faith, but they believe that their religion kind of supersedes faith as well. And so that is the consequence. That is, of course, it's not so-called religious liberty. People should be free to exercise their faith, but if you're going to associate with a group, you also are agreeing with their foundation, with their core principles, with what they believe to be doctrine. If you don't like it, you can leave. That's not a bogus thing. It's a critically important thing. And we can't say that the government's now making decisions for the church. You want this character making decisions on what your sermon topics should be? I mean, give me a break. Not the way it was supposed to work. In fact, you talk about a violation of the First Amendment, there you go. It's not just that the church wants to have freedom, it's that the government shouldn't have its control or exert control over the church. The church is free, just like people are in society. However, that's not the case, and that's not where we are today. And I'm really long in this segment, super long. Got to take a break, come back, and it's going to be a short segment next segment, but we'll continue this may shift gears. But I just wanted to talk about that. We are going to shift gears now that I think about this, but time for a quick timeout. Sit tight, be back in just a minute.
Like what you hear on Todd's show? Why not get more by signing up for Todd's free Semi-Sweet Morsels of Truth newsletter? To subscribe, visit toddhuffshow.com/subscribe or text HUFF to 31996.
Ever ask yourself, what does my business insurance actually cover? Well, at AIA and Avon, we think you deserve to know. AIA is focused on earning your trust. We've found that when we educate our clients and truly listen to them, they allow us to work alongside them to put together the insurance plan they need. Whether your business is big or small, give AIA a call, 317-718-1747, or find out what we can do for you at AIA4lowrates.com. Advertisement sponsored by Grange Insurance.
I love my community, and I wanted to do more to make a difference with my hard-earned dollars. I wanted to make an impact and help shape our future and our county. So I gave money to the Community Foundation of Morgan County. More than just charitable giving, the money I donate is tracked and measured so every dollar is held accountable. It's a social return on your investment. Why don't you join me in donating at cfmconline.org? That's cfmconline.org. Philanthropy with measurable impact.
Hey Indianapolis, by now you've probably heard about Jody Dowdle with Midwest Tax Group. Jody and his team are experts at helping you prepare your personal or small business tax returns. You can count on Midwest Tax Group to get every deduction possible and work for your higher refund. And not just on this year's taxes, they'll check your prior returns for any tax savings you may have missed for free. Are you behind on filing your returns? They can file past due returns and help negotiate with the IRS too. They complete most tax returns within a week and charge an affordable, flat fee, no hourly billing. And as their client, you can consult with the team at Midwest Tax Group year-round at no charge. Midwest Tax Group has 4 office locations in Castleton, Greenwood, Plainfield, and Greenfield, with evening and weekend appointments available. Schedule your appointment today at 317-288-5260. That's 317-288-5260. Or visit their website at mwtaxgroup.com. Midwest Tax Group can help you more than any piece of software ever could.
Hi, my name is John Swadner, Sales Director of the Todd Huff Show. As a listener of the program, you know the show is growing. 4 years ago, it began as a podcast in a closet. Today, it's a 2-hour show that airs during morning drive in Indy and in Utah, and we're just scratching the surface. Todd brought me on board to help the show and our advertisers grow. That's why I'm specifically looking for partners who are a good fit to advertise with us. Would that be you? To learn more about what advertising would look like and to determine if it's a good fit for your business, shoot me an email to john@toddhuffshow.com. And be sure to ask me about some of our special packages that will save you up to 40%. Email john@toddhuffshow.com. Shoot me an email today.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. That's 800-764-9168.
Welcome back. Again, as I shared last segment, I am really far off of our break, so this will be really, really quick, but I want to talk about this briefly when we get back, next segment. But did you see that the latest, what do you want to call this? Not requirements. What's the words? Recommendations, I guess. The latest recommendations on preventing coronavirus spread is not just washing your hands. It's not just social distancing. It's not even wearing a mask, which, I mean, again, I know these things change, it seems, minute by minute. But this is in U.S. News and World Report. You may have seen this elsewhere. But a large cloud of virus-laden droplets can be released high into the air when you flush a toilet, and it can hang around long enough to be inhaled by others, a new study says. So now recommendations are to shut the top of the lid of the toilet. And I don't know what you do. What do you do if you're in a public restroom and there's no toilet? There's not a lot of toilet lids on some of these toilets. How do you How do you manage this? So leave it to the government look, governments around the world, from China, organizations like the WHO have butchered this thing from the beginning. Now they're telling us how to flush our waste down the toilet, how to flush our poo. And now we've got some guidelines. Oh, there we go, guidelines. That's what I was trying to think earlier. Not recommendations, but guidelines. So wear a mask, socially distance, don't touch anybody. Make sure that you keep your hands clean, and I guess you don't flush public toilets. This is like a Antifa dream come true. People in Chaz are safe. There's no toilets flushing in Chaz. I guess you just urinate and defecate wherever you are over there in Chaz, as you've destroyed the businesses and so forth in the city. Reminds me as well, I got to take a break. Take a break and talk about this next thing when I get back. So sit tight. You're listening to Conservative Not Bitter Talk. I'm your host, Todd Huff. Back in just a minute.
Listen to Todd's show on your way to work, but want to hear more? Don't miss a beat. Visit toddhuffshow.com/listen to catch the program anytime, anywhere.
If you own a rental property, you know the hassles of marketing, renting, collecting, and the handling of maintenance and repairs. One call to Zuluscape can put an end to your property management headaches. Zuluscape has over 20 years of experience helping landlords throughout central Indiana and taking the stress out of owning a rental. From A to Z, let Zuluscape handle it all so you can enjoy owning a rental instead of hating being a landlord. Give us a call at 317-663-8485 or visit our website at zuluscape.com.
All right, here we go. $100 down to $100 down, $200 down, back at $300.
I went to my first firearms auction a few years ago. It was hosted by TJ Freege, one of my good friends from high school, who is a champion auctioneer and one of the best in the business. In spite of objections from liberal legislators, I walked away with a .22 rifle and a few boxes of ammunition. And I had a great afternoon with my grandpa that I won't soon forget. If you've ever wondered what treasure you could find in an auction, visit FreegeAuctioneers.com and take a look at their upcoming Central Indiana auction schedule. That's Freege, Freije, auctioneers.com. Visit FreegeAuctioneers.com.
Hi, I'm TJ Freege, owner and lead auctioneer at Freege & Freege Auctions and Marketing. I invite you to come see the power of live auctions. It's fast, it's fun, it's transparent, and it's the absolute best way to ensure you get fair market value for your asset today. Get results, go auction.
Seems like just yesterday that you couldn't find a quiet place to think in your home. Now all the kids have flown the nest and you find yourself wondering what to do with all of that extra space. This is Bruce of Bruce Richardson Realty. My team and I understand that life changes, and so do your home needs. So whether you're downsizing or upsizing, give us a call at 317-507-3285. Let us help you find the best fit for your residential or your commercial property needs. 317-507-3285.
Ever ask yourself, what does my business insurance actually cover? Well, at AIA and Avon, we think you deserve to know. AIA is focused on earning your trust. We've found that when we educate our clients and truly listen to them, they allow us to work alongside them to put together the insurance plan they need. Whether your business is big or small, give AIA a call, 317-718-1747, or find out what we can do for you at AIA4lowrates.com. Advertisement sponsored by Grange Insurance.
Healthcare is expensive and complicated. Did you know that as a Christian business owner, it is possible to provide access to affordable health benefits for your employees? Remodel Health has helped employers across the United States save over $22 million in the past 3 years. Our innovative approach allows your employees to have the health benefits they need at a cost you can afford. Go to remodelhealth.com/Todd to help your employees find the healthcare they deserve. Remodel Health. Rethink employee health benefits.
What if your bank treated you like a person instead of an account number? What if you could sit across from the person you are opening an account with or requesting a loan from and have an actual conversation? You may be thinking, Todd, that's crazy talk. Well, not at Citizens Bank. Come visit them in Monrovia and meet Nick Gibson, their new branch manager, and the rest of their staff. Or give them a call at 317-831-0110. Citizens Bank is an equal housing lender and member FDIC. Welcome back. I want to say this. I was going through I jot some things down on a little pad of paper, some things that I might want to get to, time permitting, in the program. And I saw yesterday. I need to make sure I get this exactly right, but apparently I'm going to make sure I get the wording right here. The most acceptable white candidate for Biden to choose as his VP running mate. You ready for this? I love this. You could not give me just more juicy material than this. This is fantastic. But the most acceptable white candidate for Biden to choose, according to grumbles that they hear from Democrats today, is none other than Elizabeth Warren. That's right. The one who pretends to be a make-believe Native American is the most acceptable white candidate. What does that tell you? That tells you that the radical left finds you most acceptable if you pretend not to be white. Being white is so disgusting to the Democrat Party right now, to the radical left. It's such a disgusting, reprehensible thing that in order to be the most acceptable white person in the party, to be the VP choice, you've got to pretend not to be white. And that's precisely what Elizabeth Warren does. In fact, I've said this before, and I love talking about this because it entertains me to no end, but I am the 13th great-grandson of Pocahontas. True story. Rebecca Matoka, Pocahontas. I'm the 13th great-grandson, proven by a genealogist. And so I bring that up only because Trump is undoubtedly going to call her Pocahontas at some point because of these comments. He's going to say Biden is looking at his running mate and he's considering, among others, Pocahontas, right? He's going to mention this. And then there's going to be people who say it's racist and whatever else. But I want to say, as the self-appointed spokesperson of the Pocahontas family, I am telling you we don't have a problem with this. We don't have a problem with this because Trump's not putting down my heritage or my family or anyone else. What he's actually doing is mocking Elizabeth Warren for the silly, talk about reprehensible stuff. It's the way that she talks about her identity, making it up for political purposes, for to benefit her in the academic workplace, right? This is the way that these folks think. I just find it ironic and interesting that the most acceptable white candidate for the Democrat Party is someone who pretends not to be white. So, I don't know. This just entertains me. I just want to share that with you really quickly. Got to take a break. You're listening to the home of conservative, not bitter talk. I am your host, Todd Huff. Back in just a minute.
Is it possible to be a fan of the show if you don't have the gear to prove it? Why not be safe and remove all doubt? Shop for official merchandise at toddhuffshow.com/shop today.
All right, here we go. $100 now, $200
I went to my first firearms auction a few years ago. It was hosted by TJ Freegee, one of my good friends from high school, who is a champion auctioneer and one of the best in the business. In spite of objections from liberal legislators, I walked away with a .22 rifle and a few boxes of ammunition. And I had a great afternoon with my grandpa that I won't soon forget. If you've ever wondered what treasure you could find in an auction, visit FreegeeAuctioneers.com and take a look at their upcoming Central Indiana auction schedule. That's Freegee, Freije, auctioneers.com. Visit FreegeeAuctioneers.com.
Hi, I'm TJ Freegee, owner and lead auctioneer at Freegee Auctions and Marketing. I invite you to come see the power of live auctions. It's fast, it's fun, it's transparent, and it's the absolute best way to ensure you get fair market value for your asset today. Get results, go auction.
The printing industry has changed a lot since we opened for business in 1931, but what our clients expect from us really hasn't changed. Quality print, fast turnaround, and competitive prices. We've learned a lot at Moeller Printing over 86 years and 3 generations. Why not put that experience to work for you? Call 317-353-2224 and mention discount code RADIO to receive 10% off your first order. Call Moeller Printing at 317-353-2224.
You rely on your vehicle every day. It's not a member of the family, but you spend as much time with it as most family members. You wouldn't take your family to just any doctor, so don't trust your vehicle to just any repair service. At Raymond's Auto and Truck Repair in Plainfield, we have well-trained, caring technicians that have the expertise to get you back on the road. For 25 years, we've been servicing personal, commercial, and fleet vehicles. Give us a call at 317-838-7112 for the car service you deserve.
Are you an electrician, plumber, or handyman looking for an 8-to-5 job that pays you what you're worth? Copper Ridge Home Services wants you. Our veteran-owned family business offers holiday pay, weekends off, and on-site training for entry-level positions. Our team is growing, so if you have a can-do attitude, we want you to be part of that growth. Ready for a change? Give Copper Ridge a call at 317-839-6100. That's 317-839-6100. Copper Ridge Home Services. We value your time.
Anxiety, depression, relationship problems, past trauma. Problems rarely get better when given time. Care to Change Counseling can help. Our professionals combined evidence-based care models with scripture to get you on the path to a productive life. We are here to help you make the changes you need for a healthier, happier you. Take that brave step today. Call Care to Change at 317-790-9396 or visit caretochange.org.
Business leaders, are your employees satisfied with their jobs? Do they enjoy coming to work and feel valued? Workforce Chaplains can help. Locally owned, we work with organizations to provide holistic care to their employees. I'm Marcus Schrader, president of Workforce Chaplains, and we offer your team a 24/7 support system that positively affects your company's culture and productivity. With our personalized pricing and diverse support system, we handle the issues that you wish you had time for. To learn more, visit us at workforcechaplains.com.
Yeah, I found this on Drudge yesterday. This article about Elizabeth Warren being the most acceptable white candidate. Just the way people think. But this guy, Steve Phillips, founder of Democracy in Color, just recorded a podcast with Elizabeth Warren, and he said Warren is certainly the most acceptable white candidate that could be chosen. I think her brand of large-scale change does also speak to the moment in terms of people demanding significant reforms within the country. Biden's on record as saying he wants his vice presidential candidate to be a running mate, to be a woman. I think there may have been times he's even said a black woman, which really begins to, eliminate other choices here. Which again, I mean, look, it just shows without any doubt whatsoever that this party is engaged in identity politics, because in a sane world, you would just pick the person that's best. You wouldn't just say, I'm going to pick a black woman or a white man or whatever, right? But this is where we've come. I think Elizabeth Warren, I mean, she's already pretended to be Native American. Is there a reason that she can't pretend to be black? And then maybe Biden could tell Elizabeth Warren she ain't black. I mean, this could get really interesting. I wouldn't even know how to navigate this. We've been told our first black president back in the 90s was Bill Clinton. You remember this? You might have thought that our first black president was Barack Obama, but they actually were saying in the 90s Bill Clinton was America's first black president. Why can't Elizabeth Warren be America's first black vice president? Is that true? First black vice president? But why not? Why not? I mean, if you can choose your gender and you can be whatever you think that you are, why can't Elizabeth Warren be black? It worked for Rachel Dolezal, at least for a while as well. Anyway, insanity. Insanity is what we're dealing with here around the country. But especially in the Democrat Party. But I've got to go. SDG. See you tomorrow. Take care.
As a listener of this program, I have no doubt that you embrace the value of